Hey everyone, it's Aubrey, recovering perfectionist, queen of distraction. Welcome to the kitchen. Today's video is headed in a very different direction than normal and a different direction than I intended. I really wanted to tackle some more problem areas of my house tonight and over the course of the next few days. But since I was sick at the beginning of last week and my toddler coughed a couple times yesterday, I'm really starting to kind of, I don't want to say panic, I'm just becoming very aware of the fact that we're in September, my son's back in school. We're starting to quickly approach the cold and flu season. So tonight, because it's nighttime in my world, we are going to be making some elderberry syrup, a mullein tincture, and some sage honey in preparation for combating all the cooties that come with this time of year. And then while we're on the topic of health and wellness, we are going to be chatting about the things that myself and our family, things that we take on a daily basis just to support our general health, our immune system, and then also our favorites for cold and flu season. I'm not a doctor. This is the disclaimer where you need to consult your healthcare provider before you take any advice from the random woman on the internet. I'm not a professional. I know some things. I've personally had enough success between myself and my family with these products that I feel confident enough to say, hey, this sparks joy for us. I'll link it in the description below, blah, blah, blah. And I will also share the recipe for this elderberry syrup. All right, and this is the part where it simmers for 45 minutes. I did not realize that it was going to take that long to make, but tomorrow is Monday, and I really want to start our week off just in the habit of having this daily as a preventative measure for, just general immune system support this time of year. Okay. Alexa, set a timer for 45 minutes.
45 minutes, starting now.
Alexa, turn the volume to 3. Good gravy. Okay, so while we are on the topic of elderberry syrup, Simply Living Well by Julia Watkins. I flippin' love this book, and this is where the elderberry syrup recipe is coming from today. I have not made this recipe before. I have not made elderberry syrup before, but I spent far too much money on elderberry syrup from the store that ended up having sugar in it, which I didn't realize. I would much rather be having honey if there's going to be any kind of sweetener in my syrups. You just don't have sugar when you're sick. It's not good for your body. No sugar, no gluten, no dairy. I learned that once, and they are 3 rules that I have just strived to live by. I just make up words sometimes, don't mind me. It was a midwife that I used to work with. She said to just avoid those things while you're sick, and I do that now. I do that for the kids, and it makes such a huge difference. Now, obviously, all of our bodies are very different. We all have different starts to our life. We have different genetics, this, that, and the other. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say everything is different. Everybody is different. And what works for me might not necessarily work for you. My family and I, we bounce back really quickly when it comes to sickness, where for example, me and my friend who ended up with the same thing, it knocked her out for several days where she was napping multiple times daily. I got sick. I didn't feel stellar for a day, but I was still able to function and do my thing, and I was fine by the next day. So everybody reacts to everything differently. This is just what has worked well for our family to keep us healthy, this, that, and the other. Back to elderberry syrup. So I'm doubling the recipe that's in here. It says that it's good for about a month in the fridge, but you can freeze anything you don't use. So my intent is to freeze some to have on hand and then just use this daily just to try and keep us ahead of the game. There are also a couple recipes in this book for elderberry gummies and elderberry popsicles, which I would like to try in the future for the boys, assuming that they don't like the elderberry syrup. They did like the stuff from the store last year to an extent, so I'm hoping that they will enjoy this stuff as well as much as you can enjoy a syrup. So now that we're done talking about elderberry syrup, let's get into the things that I personally take on a daily basis, and I suppose my husband kind of just to support our daily health and our overall immune system in the long run. Alrighty, this is my basket of things. So first things first, I take these Ritual multivitamins. My husband takes the men's version. I think he takes them. I used to take the Ray Wellness. It was a line of multivitamins and supplements that was at Target for a while, and I really loved those, and I took them for years. But then all of a sudden, my shipment stopped coming, and the company was still charging my credit card. So I don't know what happened there. After not taking a multivitamin for a period of time and feeling a little bit like trash, I was trying to find one that felt like a good quality. I've seen this one recommended a ton with great reviews, so I got this for myself and my husband, and that's that. Also daily, I take this Chase Tree Vitex from Pure. My ND, my naturopathic doctor, recommended this for me to manage my PMS symptoms. I was an absolute monster. Like, I would avoid planning anything the few days leading up to my cycle because I didn't even want to be around myself. And this has been an absolute game changer. Like right now, I'm PMS and I'm just living my best life. I had 2 sleepovers with children back to back. There was 6 kids in a tent over the course of the weekend, and I only got anxious a couple times. It was lovely. Another thing that I'm taking on a daily basis is this adrenal complex from Designs for Health. This is another thing that was recommended by my ND. During the winter and spring, I was suffering from some pretty intense fatigue, and my doctor recommended getting my cortisol levels tested. Turns out they were shockingly low. So this adrenal complex is just supporting your adrenal health. And since taking this, I feel scared to stop taking it because it's absolute night and day. I wake up feeling rested in the morning, and then I have really wonderful energy throughout the day. I don't wake up tired and feel tired through the rest of the day. I don't have that agonizing crash around dinner time like I was having. And then at the end of the day, I was just like absolutely wired. My doctor, she described it as wired and tired. And that is 100% what I was experiencing. If you experience that, you need to get your cortisol checked. And then this Thorn iron supplement, I take this like a week before I start my period. Sorry, TMI, but you're losing blood. And then I take this a few days into my cycle, and I do not have the really intense like period crash like I have had in the past. Talk to your doctor, but I think it was a good system. I also take an extended release ADHD medication that helps me function. I've got to do it. I really tried to go a supernatural route with Thesis, but this was like 80 something bucks a month, and my insurance covers the majority of that. The prescription is $20. We got to make our choices. I tried to really live a very holistic and natural life, but sometimes that costs too much money. Sometimes it just is too dang expensive. Okay, so that's stuff that I'm taking on a daily or semi-daily basis. The things that I take when I get sick, which thankfully really doesn't happen a lot, I gravitate towards this rapid immune boost. I got mastitis. It was my second time getting mastitis when I was breastfeeding my most recent son. And during this particular situation, the antibiotics that I needed were out of stock at all of the pharmacies that were in my area. So kind of just in like a last ditch effort to just do something, I got this rapid immune boost tincture, Herb Farm. I've found this just at our local Kroger store, but I've also gotten it on Amazon. I'm not saying to do this, but it ended up working for me. This cleared up my mild case of mastitis that I had, and I never even ended up having to fill the prescription for the antibiotics. So since that happened, I gravitate towards this when I start feeling like the slightest bit of tinge in my throat or like the slightest bit of like stuffy in my nose. This is what I'm reaching for, and this is what I'm recommending to absolutely everyone. And then another thing that I have from Herb Farm, this willow bark tincture. I've been starting to take this in place of like Tylenol or ibuprofen when I have a mild headache. There are certain times where like the headache that I have, just this isn't cutting it. So I will grab like the bottle of ibuprofen or something. But for the most part, like this definitely takes the edge off, and I'm able to get through my day while making a healthy choice. And then a couple other things that I have on hand for me and my husband when we get sick is this oil of oregano. It is an antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antifungal. So very good to have on hand when you've got like any kind of bug. Consult your doctor or Google it. My primary care, I would say, is Dr. Google, but also I think I'm supposed to tell you not to do that. Don't listen to me, talk to your doctor. And then Gonmao Ling from plum flower is a Chinese herb that is recommended for cold and flus and whatnot. This was recommended by an acupuncturist that I used to work with, and absolutely makes a difference. I haven't actually taken these a whole lot recently. I've actually kind of forgotten that they exist, but I do think that this is a wonderful product that has worked well for me in the past, and it's not something that I ever feel like I want to part with, because I'm like, what if for whatever reason I'm out of my normal tincture, I'll have this to fall back on. Also, has anybody else taken this? What are your thoughts? I think it's a winner. Okay, and then another thing I take daily, these are actually LB is lemon balm, and Ashwa is ashwagandha. They're tinctures that I had made. I just take these before bed to help calm my mind and put me to sleep because I have a hard time doing that on my own. So that is that for me. We're gonna talk about the boys now. Oh, another thing that I do take for myself, which I am out of right now, it's Nordic Naturals. That is where I get my vitamin D from. I take 5,000 IUs daily. Every once in a while there's a day that I forget, but for the most part, that is what I'm taking on a daily basis. I am out right now, which is another reason that I'm making this elderberry syrup. We're like a week and a half into our no spend September, and even though I would like to say that I was prepared, I obviously wasn't when I did not realize that I was out of my vitamin D. But I'm really trying to stick to the goal of not spending any money. So I'm utilizing the things that we have to support my immune system in the meantime. Nordic Naturals is also where I get my shelf-stable fish oil, but I'm trying very hard to get through the stuff that I have in the fridge right now. I can't take a fridge fish oil. I do not remember. I end up taking it like once a month. I've had the same bottle in the fridge for over a year now, and it's like maybe halfway through, and that's between me and my husband taking it. Okay, now we're officially talking about what I give to the boys. So on a daily basis, I've got these Mary Ruth's Kids multivitamin and probiotic. Multivitamins for kids are just such a touchy subject. Just do what you feel is best for you. There's some sugar in this. How much sugar is in this actually? 4 grams for 2 gummies. I guess that's not terrible. But do your Flintstone vitamins, do your sugar gummies, do your no sugar gummies. You do what feels best for you, and you don't judge me for my kids' multivitamins, okay? Deal? I just feel like this is such a touchy subject, and I'm scared of being yelled at on the internet. Just be nice to me, okay? So the dosage on this is 2 gummies. I give, obviously, 2 to my oldest son, and then my toddler, I give him 1 a day, and then they each have 1 D3, 1000 IU. I also have had some of those recently, but they are almost out. So again, elderberry syrup to the rescue. So these Ultimate Omega Juniors, let's see. This one has 680 milligrams of omega-3s. I was giving him one that had a higher dosage, but it was out of stock. I mean, either way, I just feel good that I am giving him some fish oils on a daily basis. And then Nordic Naturals, they're like a weird, I'm just gonna pop one out and then I'm gonna end up eating it. Not that I need some fish oil. These are the ones that I give my toddler. I can see why he likes eating them. I feel like there's something else. Fish oil, multivitamin, vitamin D. Oh, I guess that's it. I guess that's what I give the boys. So very simple. They eat it. Jackson is a pro at swallow vitamins. It's something he's very proud of. So these are just a swallow. They're not a chewable. Otherwise, I probably would have a chewable fish oil for him. But all right, so now that we've chatted about what the boys take on a daily basis, we will talk about the things that they don't take on a daily basis, because that means that they're sick. For the most part, the boys really don't get sick that much. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. Like last year was wonderful. Jackson only got sick once. I think he only missed like 2 or 3 days of school. And I think Alec had a cold a couple of times, but for the most part, it was really nothing that left us couch ridden for any significant period of time, which I'm very thankful for. And during those periods of time where we were experiencing some kind of ailments, I was always gravitating towards the Highlands cough and cold. They have like, there's a different one that I'll link in the description below. It's just kind of like a different list of symptoms. And they have a nighttime and a daytime version of like the cough cold syrup. They love the taste. It worked. Absolute miracles for them. I really love any and all of Highlands products, like their syrups and all of their homeopathic tablets. I do have some other homeopathics. I'm not really going to get into that though, just because I also don't gravitate towards those. They're kind of like we have it on hand because my mom bought it for me. My mom's go-to is always homeopathic medicine. For me, it tends to be a little bit more of an herbal direction, but I will definitely credit my mom 100% when it comes to me being the like health conscious. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Thank you, Mom, for teaching me alternative ways of taking care of your body. Moving on. All right, more things for the kids. Genexa is another kind of like clean, no filler ingredients, no colors, no fuss, cleaner option when it comes to kid medicine. We have not tried this kids honey syrup. Actually, I don't know, did we? No, we haven't tapped into this one yet, so I cannot vouch for it. I have been giving this one to Alec. It's their acetaminophen. It just doesn't have any added flavors or colors, so I like that for when he is experiencing any kind of pain due to some time he fell down and hurt himself. Alrighty, so we're here in my closet. This is editing Aubrey, and right now we're at the point in the video where I'm talking about giving acetaminophen to Alec when he hurts himself. He's not the most coordinated boy. He falls down and gets owies a lot. And the acetaminophen is not what I'm gravitating towards on a very regular basis. If he hurts himself, I'd say my definite go-to, and I don't even know why this didn't cross my mind during this filming process, or why I didn't like grab it when it was in the basket of stuff that I was going through, but it is Highland's Arnica tablets. I give those to the boys, and then also Highland has a bumps and bruises ointment that I put on them as well. A few weeks ago, my niece was over and she fell when she was on her bike, and the handlebar like stabbed into her stomach. And she had like a golf-sized bump on her tummy. And so I put some of the bumps and bruises ointment on it, and the next day it was like not there. She didn't have any bruising, no bump or anything. And then recently my youngest son hit my oldest son on the head with a toy hoe when they were playing with outside. And my oldest son Jackson had a pretty decent sized bump on his forehead, did the Arnica tablets, put the cream on it, and next day absolutely nothing. So I swear by the Arnica. My mom also swears by the Arnica, and sometimes my husband gives her crap that it's like always her go-to, but Arnica has saved me in a few pretty intense bruising situations as well. So also the Arnica, linking that below. And then their Cold Crush homeopathics. We did have these a few times last year, and these seem to work well also. And then another couple things. This was a Wild Harvest Echinacea and Golden Seal tincture that my mom had given me for the boys once upon a time. That was wonderful. And then also this Beekeeper's Naturals propolis spray. We really liked this when we were having coughs and stuff. It was just very nice and soothing for the throat. This is the kids one, but my husband and I also had it. And then I had my very first experience with ear infection as a mom. My first son never had an ear infection, and then all of a sudden baby number 2 rolls around and we get a double ear infection. And when that happened, I wanted to choose like the ride it out option, because ideally I did not want to give my 2-year-old any antibiotics. I was not opposed to it if it really came down to it, but he was not miserable. He was not in any agony, but it was just obviously something that needed to be on our radar. My son's pediatrician didn't know of any natural remedies, or said, no, there's not any natural remedies that you can do for an ear infection. So thank you to whoever the viewer was that recommended mullein and garlic, because there was literally from Herb Farm, which I've used and trusted for quite a while now, they literally had a kid's mullein garlic oil for inside the ear. And guess what? He doesn't have an ear infection anymore. So that is that. Just kidding. I'm lying. A couple other tried and true things that I absolutely love. Ultima electrolyte drink mix. It's delicious. It makes me want to drink water. This blue raspberry one is delicious, and I have tricked the boys into thinking that I am making them blue Gatorade from home. I love them having this on a really hot day where we're super active outside. I have a glass of this every single morning, because otherwise I would be drinking water at 1 in the afternoon when it is too late. Having a big glass of water with some electrolytes is something that my ND had recommended to me, and that is also one of the things that has made a huge difference in just my energy levels recently. I feel like a human being, and I just highly recommend it. This is also something that I'm really glad that we are going to have on hand this year for if we are experiencing any kind of sickness where, you know, a little bit more fluids are required for recovery and whatnot. And then when it comes to vitamin C powder, you might be wondering, but where is her emergency? Not in my house. Nuh-uh, there was too much sugar added into that. And I know I said I don't mind the sugar in my kids' multivitamin, but again, the emergency and the vitamin C drinks we're having when we're sick, we're trying to avoid the sugar, right? So I found this Sufficient C. This has 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C. There's 2,000 in a scoop. I typically only have 1 scoop, so the 2,000 milligrams on a daily or semi-daily basis. And then I give this to the boys occasionally, like if we are like, oh my gosh, we walked past a kid that was sneezing, like we're gonna have some of this just to be safe. But this is delicious. I'm gonna link all these things, but I'm like extra linking this and this below. And this, I feel just medicine can be hard and confusing, and it just feels really good when you get to a point where like you've created your little arsenal of things that you feel happy and confident using for you and your family. So we've talked about all that stuff. Now we're gonna do something else. 8:49. That's why I'm starting to feel really foggy. So if I get weird, like I have been for the majority of this video, it's because it's bedtime and I'm getting tired. So I'm going to stop talking for a moment, gather myself, and I'm gonna clean up this stuff. And then we're gonna get back to the elderberry syrup and start making the mullein tincture and the sage honey. All right, we're gonna make a tincture. Now, I've made tinctures in the past, and I have always used the folk method of making tinctures, which is basically where you put your dry herb in and then you just cover it in whatever alcohol you're using. So since becoming older and wiser, and by older and wiser, I mean I watched one lady on YouTube who made a really good point when it comes to using the folk method, is you really don't have an exact idea or measurement of how much herb you are using in your tincture. So I've since started using the method where you actually weigh out your herb and you have 1 part herb to like 5 to 10 parts alcohol. So that is what I'm doing now. I'm going to measure my stuff with my scale. This makes me feel so fancy. I don't know, it does. There we go. So over the course of the last couple weeks, just any time that I have used the oven, I've tried to grab some fresh mullein leaves from outside in the yard to throw on a baking sheet just to put in the oven. Like as I'm done baking whatever it is that I'm baking, I'll pull that out, turn off the oven, and then I'll put the baking sheet of the mullein in the oven with the door cracked a little bit, and then just let that dry out using the residual heat from whatever it was that I had heated up the oven to make. This is from a batch from baking event prior, but today I did, when I was done with getting my bread out of the oven, I did put some mullein and then some sage in the oven to dry out. I feel like I've got a wee case of like imposter syndrome right now. Like, who am I? Like, oh, I just pulled some bread out of the oven and then I put my foraged mullein and sage from my yard on the baking sheet to dry so I can make a tincture. Who even am I? I feel like I'm on the other side of a YouTube video where like I watch the person, I'm like, wow, I'm really inspired by her. But then at this moment in time, like I also feel really bad about myself because I'm not doing what she's doing. Pinky promise, I am not this person all the time. This is like an every once in a while kind of situation. And we're gonna break it up real good because that way there's more surface area where the booze is gonna just soak in there and break down all the cell walls and pull out all the stuff that we want. Okay, let's talk about mullein. So if you don't know what mullein is, chances are you've seen it growing on like the side of the road or in like a vacant lot or maybe in your backyard, which is actually the first place that I ever even, like I had seen it before, but I didn't feel a huge desire to figure out what the heck it was until I found it growing in my backyard. And I have it growing in several spots now, and look at me, I'm making medicine out of it. My son calls it the toilet paper plant because you can wipe your rear with it. It is quite nice and soft. This is gonna be a really interesting video. I feel like I'm at a sleepover where I stayed up too late. So mullein, when it comes to, its medicinal use, I have heard it described as nature's mucinex. You can use mullein in tincture form, but you can also have it as a tea. I know that there are also like topical benefits for it as well, but we're talking about cold and flu season and whatnot. So I did try it as a tea last week when I wasn't feeling good, and it was fresh. I didn't have it dried, and you do have to let it steep for a significantly longer period of time. It didn't taste weird. Well, just kidding, I'm lying. It did taste weird. It tastes like if you soaked a fresh green bean in hot water. It tasted like hot green bean tea. So if you like green beans, it's not bad, but it was just kind of an odd, bland flavor. That's my thought about how mullein tea tastes. Okay, 9.1 grams. So that means we need, I don't know math. I'm so tired. That means we need somewhere between 45 and 90 grams of vodka. I haven't had any, I swear. Okay, now when you're making a tincture, we're not drinking this. We're not 17. I mean 21. You don't have to get a high quality alcohol. I just got the cheapest thing that I could get at my grocery store in like a big bottle. You need at least 80 proof for dried herbs and then 100 proof or higher for any herbs that are not dried just because of the moisture content. Wow, I'm literally not measuring. I don't know what I'm doing. 336 grams. I need to go to bed. I really don't want to put my mouth on this. Ugh. Haven't done that in a while. Oh God. Getting closer. Jesus. 93. Now see, this is where I'm just like, this doesn't feel right because that just feels like a lot of herb. We're doing the folk method. Now this stuff, I need my canning funnel, but but I used it to put soup in the thing. How am I going to do this? We need a wide mouth. That's what we're doing. Okay, now I know I just gave my spiel about, wanting to know your dosage and stuff, but when it comes to me, I'm not super concerned about like having too much of whatever. It's when I'm giving my kids a tincture, I want to be giving them a proper dosage, and I'm not going to be giving them this in tincture form. With the kids, for the most part, like I'm giving them tinctures that I made. That's like, hey, this is how much is in it. We're professionals. We're not doing this in our kitchen, and this is how much you give them. And while like I would like to know the dosage just for my own personal knowledge, I want it covered. Watch, I'm going to pour this in, and it's not going to cover it. That was nothing. I feel like I should have left it completely full. Okay. Now, remember, I'm just a lady on the internet. You can't trust me. So go do your own research and you decide the best method of making a tincture that feels good to you. But me personally, I'm like, I want this stuff down in the booze. And we're just gonna make sure it's all nice and stirred in there. Look. Okay. That feels better to me. And then I'm just gonna shake this when I remember. It's gonna be in a dark place until I remember to strain it. Realistically, like 4 to 6 weeks, but we'll see. Then we're gonna take a piece of parchment paper and do that. Oh, this says spring 2023 on it. I need to change that. I'm not gonna know what that says. There we go. Alexa, what day will it be in 6 weeks?
In 6 weeks will be Sunday, October 20th, 2024.
Okay, so I just put what it is, the month that I'm making it, and then the day that I should realistically strain it. Get real good. Some of that leaked out. Wow, I'm not a good example right now. I feel like this is that video where I made soap and it was like what not to do when you make soap. I'm gonna put this in my laundry room. I cross paths with it the most. I have a chamomile tincture in there that did work with the measuring and weighing method. I wonder if it's just like what kind of herb you have, but like I'm not gonna die. Worst case scenario, it's not the mullein that cures my ailments. It's going to be all the vodka in my system killing the germs. That's not real. Don't do that. All right, the elderberry syrup is done simmering for the 45 minutes. We're gonna strain this now. Okay, so now we're gonna make our sage honey. This recipe I'm not doubling. I've never had this before, so I don't know if I'm gonna hate it or if the kids are gonna hate it, but we're just, wait, I need to measure this. I'm not just gonna put it in the jar. I need to measure this. Okay, the sage honey is done, and I thought that why not, because I didn't really have much to say about the sage honey, because my brain isn't working right now, wouldn't it be fun for me to read the sage honey information from here? So it's story time while we wait for the elderberry juice to go to room temp. Okay, sage honey, chapter 1. I'm just kidding. An herbalist could exhaust herself listing the medicinal uses of sage. Although it's usually considered a culinary herb, it works just as well in the medicine cabinet. Because of sage's ability to tighten and tone swollen tissues, one of my favorite ways to use it is for cough relief. Infused in honey, it's easy to make and even easier to administer, and it makes a wonderful alternative to over-the-counter cough syrups. In one randomized double-blind trial, researchers compared the effects of sage and echinacea extract on sore throats to a spray made up of chlorhexidine, and lidocaine, and found that the herbal extract was slightly more effective at reducing symptoms. When needed, I give it to my children by the spoonful, drink it myself in warm water with lemon, or add it to tea. Well, now doesn't that sound lovely? I'm looking forward to trying that. Is this where we wrap up the video? That's still really hot. It's not going to be room temp until, like, it's 9:30 right now, and I need to be in bed in an hour. So I'm going to say, regardless of the temp it is, I'm going to stir in the honey, and I'm going to put it in the fridge, because that's what I'm going to do, because I need to go to bed. Tomorrow's Monday, but I will record, and I will show you the end product, obviously. So that is all for this video, but just kidding. This is the part where I think of something else to talk about. And that random thing that I'm going to talk about real quick is when it comes to watching people on the internet or things that you read in books, it is always such a small snippet of the person's life. It's typically the best and not always the most realistic. And just, I don't know, making videos like these where it's like, this is what I do for my family, we don't get sick a lot. If that's not your reality, like, don't let my story cast any shadow on yours, because really what it comes down to is we're all just trying our best. Even when we feel like we're at our worst, we're doing the best we can in that moment. So just because this chick on the internet baked some bread and dried some herbs from her backyard and made elderberry syrup and some tinctures and honey and stuff, it doesn't mean you have to be doing it. If the thing that works best for you is running down to Rite Aid and grabbing some over-the-counter cough syrup for your kid to make them feel better, that's awesome. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just do what is the best for you and your family, and don't compare yourself to people on the internet. But meanwhile, I will be comparing myself to people on the internet. Just disclaimer. It's a weird wide world web. It's a weird world wide web. The internet's a weird place. All right, I'm going to bed now. I mean, I'm not going to bed. I want to go to bed now. I just need to stop talking. I don't normally feel this tired this late, but I just also don't talk this dang much after everybody goes to bed. Maybe this was a terrible choice. I don't think I'm ever making a video where I talk this much at the end of the day ever again. And if you've made it to this part, thank you for hanging out with me while I got delirious at the end of the day. I hope you have a wonderful day or night if that is where you are. Go to bed. I'll see you in the next video. As always, I love you. Have fun and be kind.
At one point, I was thinking, do my feet stink? But it's this. It smells like sweet foot. They can't stop sniffing. I wonder if the boys would think it's fun if I called it foot juice. Probably not. Okay, that's all.